New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
What color is the interior on that?
It's gray cloth. It has the
the scripting.
Yeah, it's got this,
cool.
I think it's cool.
specific.
I think it's very cool that it's imprinted, but also at the same time it's like super tacky, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite understand.
We're already recording, aren't we?
We are.
Fuck.
Oh god.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, I can't say fuck because I saw the clean lyrics badge
Okay.
Oh, I can
on
change
your
that. don't worry.
podcast.
Yeah.
There goes our sponsors, which are the two of us. So we've abandoned this officially. Well, should we start this?
Do we have to?
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Daniel.
Don't talk yet.
Oh,
God.
sorry. All
We
right,
have to
restart the
do
recording.
our thing. Nope.
Sorry.
We're rolling.
Okay.
Well-
What is this title?
It's hard to say.
Oh god.
Are we going to introduce this or what?
Yeah, I want us to say the title and get this over with so we can talk to our guest.
Okay, fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, welcome to
New for
96.
Nailed it. I just want to jump right in and say we have a real treat here today. We have a full container of these pretzels, my favorite snack in the world, peanut butter filled pretzels.
I purchased a crate from Costco earlier.
So look forward to the crunching, or
Yeah.
listen forward, as it were.
120 pounds worth.
Actually, we have Daniel Sloan with us, which you saw in the title, possibly, and he's one of our very close friends, both of us. A talented and creative photographer, a great driver, and I hate to throw around this slur, an avid BMW enthusiast. He and I have driven on road trips, and I calculated how many miles, and it came out to exactly 7,007. So
Wow.
it's a Hellcat
Yeah.
of distance together.
It's like a
Yeah.
limo Hellcat.
Daniel
Exactly.
Daniel also wheelbarrowed my near lifeless body from the top of Pikes Peak when I suffered from, what did you suffer from?
Altitude sickness.
Altitude sickness.
You said it was fatigue when you went to rehab.
If I'm honest, it was just a lot of alcohol. But, when isn't it? But yes, welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks for flying all the way down. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to overtalk you the entire time. But Daniel, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to take part in this podcast, and as
Kevin
an
and I are
avid
laughing.
listener through the first 4 episodes,
You've been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
I've been there from the beginning. I never thought I would have the chance to actually
We just tricked
join
him. We
you.
told him there was pizza, and then we surprised him with the podcast.
So I really look forward to this. I live in Portland, Oregon. West Coast, Best Coast. For our West Coast listeners out there, as Kevin mentioned, I'm an avid BMW enthusiast. I have an LCI E46 M3 Cabriolet 6-speed manual, not SMG, that I've had for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Almost to the day, actually.
How many miles?
It has 145,000 miles
Okay.
on it now. I've put 85 of those on.
That's
it.
great. And you've been everywhere with this thing.
I've driven it back and forth across most of the country a few times and up and down the West Coast a few times. And I put winter tires on it in the winter so I can continue doing that in any season.
Yeah, like half of the national parks that I've been to in the U.S. I've been to with Daniel in his M3, including Crater Lake in the middle of January on snow tires. We had the top down, and I just think it's so cool what Daniel does, because it's not about what you drive; it's what you do with the car and using it. And he drives them, and it's just cool. I may have a small rant, but it's like car enthusiasts have such hypocrisy with we want everyone to get out and drive, but then it's like, ooh, I'm gonna lust and pay twice as much for this 19,000 mile car on Bring a Trailer from 2004, and it's like,
I want to say that we're living in a different time now too, though, where like we really appreciate like a driver, as in like the car that is classified as a driver. Like looking at, I'm really fascinated by 500,000 mile like Land Cruisers or like 911 SCs with like 300,000 miles on them, like
that fake one.
Like that fake one for that matter. Like, but like it's so that then becomes a feature, the mileage, which is so cool. Like, and I would be interested in buying that. Obviously not for like a premium, but like that is a badge of honor. Like, and especially on an enthusiast-oriented car. Maybe not. I mean, even a Land Cruiser, to be quite honest. Like, just that you know that car has been on adventures, like whatever they might have been, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is also kind of like a generational blindness in that, like, I'm thinking that now is when we're really appreciating cars that are being used as they were meant to be used, and then some. And so, you know, like with all of our cars, like you bought your 911 SC with the hopes of using it until the wheels fall off, like basically, and then you'll just put them right back on and keep going.
The same with my Toyota Prius.
Yes.
Package 8.
Yeah. And my E91 BMW wagon, I'm hoping to be the same way. I think I'm going to keep it for a really long time. Like, it has low-ish mileage now, and I'm hoping to keep it. I mean, it's a car that I've always wanted, and it is built for adventure in a way. And your E46, Daniel, is that. It has been that for you. Like, and you've also purchased perhaps a couple of other adventure cars, although I don't know what you classify them as.
Sure. Well, I just want to reiterate first that I plan to never, ever, ever sell this M3, and it's been a goal throughout the ownership to take it places where most people don't take M3s. You know, most people don't put snow tires on an M3. Most people, even with the convertibles, they'll like put a hard top on it and sometimes never take it off. So what's the point of buying the M3 that weighs 500 extra pounds if you're not going to use the convertible?
They should have waited to the M4.
Exactly, yeah.
Get a convertible that weighs 1,000 extra pounds.
Yeah, or you can put the hard top on and really live that lifestyle.
Right.
So,
Eventually I'd like to drive to Alaska in it. Not in the winter, because that's probably impossible, but at least, you know, reach the extremes of the continent and just...
Man, that would be a trip. Yeah. I mean, and we've all seen that Z3M coupe that did that trip.
To the Northwest Territories, I believe.
And the pictures are just so, like, romantic. Like, this dirty, muddy Z3M with, like, a missing mirror and a dent. And, like, it just looks so cool. And even though I probably would never ever make a trip like that myself just because of how long it would take, but it does sound...
And your frailness demonstrated at Pikes Peak.
Yes. But it does seem amazing. It looks like there. I had like in my head, there's a 911 SC for sale in Anchorage, really well priced, and it's still for sale. It's been for sale for months now, likely because we
can go get it for you.
Well,
Daniel
is the thing.
can't fit in the car, but we'll saw. We'll sawzall the firewall.
Would you like to
saws all my legs off?
Yeah. Would you like to go?
That would be easier and protect the car. Yeah, let's do what he said.
Okay, I'm gonna send you guys up there to pick up a 35-year-old car with unknown maintenance and drive it down like the most remote areas of North America.
We'll be sure to not put diesel in it.
Please drive it slowly and carefully.
Don't forget the 993 that was for
yeah.
sale
Yeah,
in
so
LA,
cool.
right?
Yeah, the one and only time I've ever been quoted in Jalopnik was when I like made a stupid tweet about that one Craigslist ad for this 993. The ad was driving to Alaska, put $3,000 into maintenance, like gonna drive back afterwards, cars for sale, like after I'm done with the trip. And it's well priced and it was really high mileage, it was like 180,000 or something like that. And the guy, and he took pictures and he kept updating the ad with like new pictures and it looked amazing. And do you think that was always the plan, or do you think he was triggered by something during the trip that caused him to suddenly want to sell the car? Yeah, right. I mean, likely. Who knows? I think in the comment section of the Jalopnik post, like one of his friends chimed in and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on that trip with him like currently or something like that."
Yeah, there was like another Porsche, right?
It was either a long hood or
It was a G model.
maybe it was a G model, and that car did not make it. Like they had to stop and either turn around or get towed back. Yep. So
AAA ultra platinum.
Yep. Where are you now? You say?
So I need a 3,200 mile tow.
Yep. But yeah, the 993, I mean, is, as they say, the most robust air cooled you can buy in theory.
They don't all say that.
Somebody says that.
Hey, did you see there was a 930 911 turbo that had like 750,000 miles on it or something?
I did not see that.
A Porsche. It's like a guy. I think he was an architect. I want to say in like Vancouver, or something, and he drove it all the time and probably has rebuilt the engine 750 times.
Yep.
And but yeah, it was really interesting. I think Porsche made a
Once
video
for each 1,000 miles.
That's exactly.
That's
this
the
guy
interval.
This guy knows math.
You've read the manual.
Yeah, it was. Porsche made a video about it last year, I think.
Okay.
And it was
I didn't read that, but
because it's like
that's interesting.
I've
Yeah.
never heard
That's
of a
so
930
cool.
with much more than 100,000 miles.
No.
So it's like 750. It's like,
Well-
oh, that makes it instantly cooler than a 200,000 mile car.
Yeah, and then there are the, I mean, outside of the air-cooled world, the 996 turbos, like, there were two that were for sale recently. Both had 500,000 miles on them.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, like, I will unscientifically say, like, Metzger, like, that's just like the reliability of those engines.
So
Now,
that interior wasn't great at 500 miles. What do you think it's like at 500?
yeah, no, just dust, nothing
Yeah.
but dust at that
But
point.
gooey dust. It's
Yeah.
sticky to the touch.
Yeah. I have yet to see like an M96, like from a 996, go that far. Although they can go far though. I mean, like there are plenty with like 200,000 miles on them. I haven't seen many, at least on forums or classified ads. But I mean, that's still pretty good. IMS or not, like that's pretty good if it's well maintained, just like any car. And we were just talking about like the million-mile Lexus too, and we want like, do you think that any car could just go to 1,000,000 miles given the right maintenance? I mean,
if you're talking rebuilds and replacing half of the car,
yeah.
I think yes.
yeah, basically,
I think that
if you
is the
keep,
story of that.
and I guess
30.
the qualifier is so long as it's the same block.
Good as new.
Then good as good as new. You don't know this, audience, but like our audio cut out for a little while there, and so we're trying to pick up right where we left off. And so Kevin, naturally, the actor that he is, has done such a nice transition that we'll just transition to a completely new topic.
Yeah, that would be. For the
Yeah.
best.
So we were talking about the just what qualifies as like these longevity cars. Like you have the 1,000,000-mile Lexus, which has not been rebuilt; it's just been maintained. A lot of stuff has been
I don't
replaced.
think it's been maintained, but yeah, it hasn't
Yeah.
really been.
It basically has been kept alive, whatever that might mean.
Yes.
And so it hasn't been rebuilt. Like the engine is,
This has never been open. It's had a
Yeah.
transmission rebuild, and it probably needs another.
yeah.
And the differential is like not connected to anything.
That's really impressive, though, that one trans rebuild in 900,000
Seriously.
miles. So, because we talk about air-cooled Porsches, and like we look for cars that have rebuilds done. Otherwise, you're looking forward to like at 100,000, 120, maybe if you're lucky, 150. And this Lexus has gone like 900,000 miles with a few trans rebuilds and then like no engine rebuild.
Yeah.
That's insane. But there are two different driving experiences, I guess. So as that goes, anyways. Daniel, what are the other adventure cars that you were talking about this and we kind of diverted
no
for
problem.
a second?
And you live in a city that has public transportation, unlike us. So all of your cars can be adventure cars.
Yeah.
And all of your intercity travel is other ways and walking and things.
Indeed, yes. I am also very lucky to work from home, so I don't have a commute, but I did commute for a few years in the M3, and it was totally fine.
I also work from home, and I somehow have driven 3,000 miles in the last month and a half without any
Without
special
leaving the
trips.
city.
Yeah, exactly.
So in March, one pro tip, if I may, don't buy a car in the middle of also buying a house, because apparently banks don't like that.
No.
But I purchased a 99 BMW E38 740i Sport. That's the sporty shorty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
And
That's a good car.
it's special because not only does it have the short wheelbase, so the proportions are a little nicer, it has the M parallel sport wheels that we all know and love.
That every 7 Series should have.
Indeed. And it's also the mid LCI.
I was gonna say it's
Oh
mid
my
LCI. It's right on the cusp.
It's mid LCI. So
Yeah.
if you
We
know
we're using
anything
this
about
incorrectly, by the way.
what?
It wasn't an LCI at that point, was it?
Well,
Officially.
who knows?
Right. We've been asked by no one to explain our usage of LCI, but continue.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
just
we'll
update
touch on it.
everything.
We'll touch
Yeah,
on it in a
yeah.
moment. So the E38 was, at least in the US, was available from 95 to
Remember when BMW
01.
had E names for chassis and cars were good?
And they
such?
seemed to have plenty left, and then suddenly they just ran out of E numbers,
Yep.
right? That's one. Yeah, once they started doing a different E
I
number.
can't hear you. We're up to G now.
We're up, I was going to say, they've run out of Fs now, too.
Yeah.
As we have as well for BMW.
once every number of door and wagon or not variation
Yeah, they used
got
that,
its own number. Then
used
they
that
ran
up
out of
real
numbers.
quick.
No, but anyway, the 99, and not even all of 99, but the 99 that I have is mid facelift or LCI, life cycle impulse.
Yeah.
Sometimes it definitely seems like BMW impulsively changed
Yeah.
the
Whoa.
styling of
Yeah.
a car.
Can we actually confirm when they started using
we add-
LCI?
Can we add a lap track there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I use LCI for everything.
He does.
And I
use-
do too now. as
Yeah. Yeah. When I got better toilet paper at the house, you said, like, your LCI toilet paper is fantastic.
It was a market improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. But, oh, man, that generation, I mean, everyone loves that generation. Like, it is the last. I will say that the Bengal 7 Series has grown more on me, but it compares none to your gen. And I remember seeing it in 95, and I even kind of liked the 95. So it was 95 till when did they update it?
So in 90, I'm
it
not
was
sure of the
94.
exact production month, but they, from the first few years, they had the black trim, the black side skirts and front lip and rear bumper color. And also the headlights were basically perfect rectangles.
Yeah.
And then in 99, the model I have, it retains the black side skirts and front lip,
But it has little notches.
but it has the curved scoops
To look like an E46,
to-
basically.
which-
to mirror
yeah,
the
if you-
E46.
If you think of an E46
which had just
headlight,
launched.
that's the update they made. So
Yeah.
I really like it.
Don't
'cause-
say update.
I'm sorry, the LCI they made.
Yes, there you go.
So I really like it because it very much has the 90s look to it. It has
Yeah.
the amber corner lights. It has I mean, for whatever reason, BMW for most of the 90s was using a very dark gray side skirt
Yeah.
on many models.
And it's like anthracite? Is that the color?
The color is anthracite
In the
metallic.
interior?
That's a really good color.
and the interior is black.
Okay.
So it's probably my
combo.
favorite color combo. I actually used to own an E39 530i Sport manual with the same color combo.
You should have kept that one.
I should have, and I
Yeah.
regret selling it, but that's a story for
Now you've got
another
luxury.
episode.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
Now you've got this greater luxury.
So what do you feel about, so you've had this car for a few months now, and I'm sure, and we seem to be parallel, but in different universes as far
M-parallel.
parallel, if you will, in our purchases. In that, like, we both had kind of sport-oriented cars, and then as daily drivers, and then we bought kind of wafty luxury cruisers, old ones at that.
Well, mine Prius is a package 8, so yeah, I would consider that a
so
luxury
yeah,
cruiser.
Kevin is chiming in with his parallel as well.
Yeah.
His is a nightmare universe, but
It's fine.
and then I bought a wagon, but prior to that, you bought another car similar to that, at least in usage, the Land Rover.
That was not prior to the 7 Series.
Oh no, prior to
his-
my car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
prior to your...
You bought a car, and then I bought a car, and then
That's right. We're trading
in succession.
car purchases.
Yeah,
Yes, prior
Which
to
you and I had
your...
done the month previous.
yeah. Ugh.
Prior to your E91 LCI, I purchased...
Can I talk about LCIs for a second? Because I feel like people don't really...
I explained it a second ago.
He did.
You said words,
No.
but you didn't have the fiery passion that I have. So
Please, the
LCI
horse
yeah,
is
well,
dead.
No, no. Chris uses the term.
Seriously?
The issue is that the life cycle impulse is the horrible, cynical marketing speak, camel case, capital M, one word, speak, capital. The marketing speak term that BMW uses, and Chris uses this willingly. He just goes along with this charade.
Yes,
And-
what a charade. Isn't
Yes, and you give in to this.
It's the official.
Yes.
We use official
No.
manufacturer nomenclature
No.
all the time.
No, that's stupid. Audi technically wants people to spell quattro as all lowercase, and I
Yeah.
say, hey, it's a proper noun, so
We-
no, I'm gonna spell it as a proper noun.
And we say 0.2 all the time for like Porsche,
But that makes sense. That's different.
and we also say Porsche.
Yeah, we do.
Porsche.
We say fucks, right, for the wheels. Please
The
bleep that.
LCI is the 0.2 equivalent for
Right.
BMW.
Right,
0.2
but
is
I
just better than LCI.
I use LCI to mean anything. Daniel and I frequently talk about the Camaro
and I
LCI.
have adopted that as well because I am a cynical person.
Yeah.
And as much as I love BMWs, I also am averse to their heavy-handed marketing techniques, I suppose.
yeah.
So I like repurposing terms like LCI for things that don't apply.
And it upsets Chris
It
when we
doesn't
use it
upset
wrongly.
me.
When
It doesn't
we use it
upset
wrongly,
me.
It does.
It's
It
fine.
does.
It's just that sometimes I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you do.
well,
Like when you're like, my LCI wife, I'm like, does that mean your new wife?
She had some work done.
Well, there you go. I
Yeah.
guess I understand perfectly fine
Okay.
then.
yeah. So if I may return to the original question, yes, I also purchased a Land Rover LR3 2005
Yeah.
model year, which is pre-LCI.
Oh.
And not only that, at the time, I believe BMW was owned by, Land Rover,
yeah.
the Rover brand as a whole, and Land Rover was owned by BMW.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I somehow didn't know that until a couple days ago.
When-
I thought that was an on purpose thing that you did just to have like
Me
a
too.
stable of BMWs.
Me too. What is the engine in that?
But
Is
the
it a V8?
engine in that,
4-liter?
it's a Jaguar V8. So
The 5? 4?
4 liter?
4?
4 It's
4? No, 4 liter.
It's an LR3, it's 3 liter.
Shit.
Yeah, there you go. Numbers mean things,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah, they do.
I should know this, and
That's
I
fine.
don't remember because I literally bought the LR3, and the next day I went out of town for 3 weeks, and I'm still on that trip.
Hey,
Oh,
well, it
yeah.
So I
can't-
have not actually driven the vehicle that I bought.
it's like I always say, it can't break down if you're not driving it.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
That's true.
And it's
the
a
air
British-
suspension can only sag while it's
Yeah,
sitting in the
it's
garage.
a British-German car. Oh my God, that's right. It has air suspension, which I've just learned of the joys, I don't know, of owning air suspension because the Celsior
That's
has
right.
original 25-year-old air suspension. And as it turns out, it's really fragile.
That's when I think, if you think about it, even airbags in the steering wheel were a new concept then.
Yeah.
So
And those have to be replaced every 7 years.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and
the
so
word on
to
the street.
support an entire vehicle
Yeah.
on airbags is
My
just a recipe for disaster.
25-year-old airbag in the Celsior is just filled with spiders now. So I don't look forward to that accident. But yeah, I walked out as many Land Rover owners have walked out to see their cars slightly kneeling. And so, yeah, it's annoying.
I have never seen junk pile up in this house or any kind of like unopened box just sit in one place for 6 weeks. If you have a box for a Celsior / LS400
Yes.
strut,
Yes.
this must be causing you so much stress. Not that it's sitting there, but it's like you can't do anything with it. And
No. So he's speaking to the OCD nature with which I keep the condition of my home. But there's one errant piece, which is a cardboard box sitting by my door, which is an air strut that I bought off of eBay, and I haven't had a chance to put it anywhere.
Of questionable
Or
quality.
in the car for that matter. Yeah, of questionable quality. Okay, so the story is that like the guy said on eBay that the donor car, had 180,000 miles on it. But there's no way that an air strut will last 180,000 miles, so I assumed that this is a replacement part. And then the dealer that I bought the Celsior from just had some takeoffs from a car they just sold. A set of 3 struts. I think I'm going to buy them just to have as
Just
like
backups.
just backups, because I should just do a cheaper coilover conversion, but I don't want to. I want to keep this
you
car
have to
like
keep it original.
I want to keep it original. I'm the only person that ever wants to keep like this, basically an LS400 original. But so I'm going to keep the uncomfortable air struts. Like a modern Camry is more comfortable than this car. But no, I mean, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and we'll see what happens.
And with my Land Rover, which this was the first, the LR3 or Discovery 3, which is what they call it outside the U.S. because the Discovery name in the U.S. had such a terrible reputation.
That is awesome. Infamous.
And I'm not an expert yet on the Rovers as a whole, but certainly in the Land Rover line, the LR3 was the first one with an air suspension, I believe. I don't think the Discovery 2 had
No, I think
air
you're
suspension.
right. Yeah.
And this one was pretty trick in that you can raise and lower it just with a toggle in the console. And if it detects being high-centered, it will extend itself to the maximum height automatically to help you go over whatever obstacle you're going on.
And this was all brand new for 2005, right?
Right. So I have the first model year.
That's
of
usually
that.
a good one to get.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
Yeah. And oddly enough, despite it being the newest vehicle that I own, it has the highest mileage out of all of them at 170,000 miles. So I had a similar thought process as you, though, Chris, where I was like, the miles are this high. They had to have replaced the air suspension at some point.
Yeah.
And
Probably dozens of times.
But yeah, maybe even dozens of times. And I also did get a PPI, not a post-purchase inspection, but a pre-purchase inspection, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that concept.
Neither of us are. Neither of us
Yeah,
are.
no. Well,
And it had, they said one of the O2 sensors needed to be replaced, and that was the only issue. And I was so amazed that on such a high mileage Land Rover of all cars.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting back to Portland and taking it directly off-road and seeing what it can do.
And that's a really capable car of going off-road, just out of the box.
Right.
How similar are they to the Range Rover of the time?
They share the exact same four-wheel drive system.
Okay.
And they even share some of the engines. There was also the Range Rover Supercharged, which had a lot more power.
Yeah.
But the non-supercharged Range Rover of the same model year had the same, basically same everything, different box on top of the chassis.
Am I wrong?
Was this the one that had like a unibody and?
Yes.
Okay, wait, yes. That's what I was about to ask. It's almost two chassis, like, melded together.
Right, which apparently is really good for street driving and also off-road driving, and
And
also
guzzling gas.
it weighs like 6,000 pounds or
It's like they say-
something like that. No, it's like 5,000,
Yeah.
but that hybrid construction means more weight and
Two great
10
chassis
miles
that
per
go
gallon.
great together.
Yeah, I mean, like, which seems like bad for cars on air suspension. Like the Excelsior must weigh quite a bit. I have no idea actually how much it weighs, but like I do think about that sometimes. That it's suspended in air basically, and it's. I mean, there's a strut inside, but that's a lot of pressure to be like just held in place, and so your car the same way, more so probably, but I've always liked that body style. Like I've always thought that it was a really nice evolution, unlike the current generation, which is really like there's some really interesting, by which I mean like bad design
The
choices.
license plate.
Yeah,
You're talking about
license
the
plate,
license
for
plate.
instance.
You're
Yeah,
talking exclusively about the
yeah,
license plate.
like I loved the asymmetry of the Discovery.
Oh, it's so
1,
brilliant.
2, and the LR3.
And the LR3 is so
and
it's so
LR4
brilliant.
as well.
And LR4, and then they wanted to keep with it, but then like all it is now, it's not even a nod. It's just kind
It's
of like
a half of an inch off.
Yeah.
Like it just looks like an accident. I mean,
It's
there's a
not
thing.
good.
We were both designers.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do something, like do it deliberately. And when
Yeah.
you see the LR3 and the LR4, like there's such a reason for why it's asymmetrical. You've got the wiper. Like it is one of the most like form follows function design things on modern cars, and it's so unique, and it's like this utilitarian off-roader, and you've got the wiper on this side, so it's like, oh, the window is shaped different, or at least the bezel around it is shaped different, and the plate's over here. And then it's like on the Discovery, it's the Discovery and or Discovery Sport. It's the Discovery. It's the
No, it's just
Discovery.
Discovery.
Okay,
So-
so it's the Discovery,
yeah.
and it's off by a quarter of an inch.
yeah,
Enough to look wrong, but not enough to look intentional.
yeah, it's not good. It's
Yeah,
a good
and
one.
frankly, the modern design it just, I don't know. There's just something about the original Discovery.
Oh, completely.
1, 2, 3, 4 body style that was like, this is meant to go off road.
And
Well, I think they achieved perfection when they designed the Velar, and they said, we're going to take a big holiday.
I gotta say,
the
like,
interns are going to be allowed to design the rest.
and the Velar right now is that, and the Range Rover Sport are the only two that I really like. Like, I don't like the new Range Rover, full-size Range Rover, or the current gen, I should say, because it's a few years old now. But it just looks really big. And the old one, I actually kind of liked that generation. Like, it was kind of a semi-svelte. It was bigger than the previous one, obviously, but it had like nice proportions. And it just looked like, as the British would say, like it just looked proper.
If I may interject,
yes.
there was an LCI for 2018 on the Range Rover.
Yes.
And I'm not sure exactly what trim.
Yes.
I think it's actually one of the lower ones. You can get body colored, like the little silver accents, like the gills on the side, the vents,
Yeah.
and everything. You can get that body color.
Yeah.
And they cleaned up the exhaust, so the exhaust like has little finishing things that look good. And I saw a white one. I mean, this was months ago now, but it looked really fantastic, especially with everything body color. It looked really good. I still think the current Range Rover looks really good, and they cleaned up the grille. And
It's just a lot of body for me. Like,
It is.
That's what
big.
that's
Yeah.
what people want.
It's a pretty car.
It
Pretty
is.
it's
SUV.
pretty. It's just that there's just so much. It's like a Rolls Royce. It's just like there's so much
Are you
car.
even an American?
It's hard to say with my last name. But the Range Rover Sport currently, the current one, is I think the perfect like form and shape for a big Range Rover, and then the Velar is a step down from that in terms of size. But the Velar is probably the perfect design for that SUV,
It's so
the
good.
premium SUV.
I would love to see that, like its design principles like applied to other things, where it's like it's so simple, but the surfacing is complex, but in this like taut, smooth way. There's not a million creases and light catchers and things.
Yeah. It makes the
amazing.
Range Rover Sport look kind of boring, honestly.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I love
Great.
the Range Rover Sport. I
Me
think
too.
it's great
I
looking.
used to. Yeah, the Velar just makes all of them look very upright and big and like like the Velars.
It is kind of interesting. Like Range Rover or Land Rover, I should say, is in the last 10 years with the updated models and then the new models is really good. But there was kind of like a weird period in which it was a little play schooly. And like with the Range Rover Sport, the first gen. I liked that when it came out, and then that eroded. That likeness kind of eroded for me.
Well, they did an LCI that made it worse, where the bodywork kept getting lower and lower, and I saw one and it looked like a Scion XB.
Yeah,
right. And they put these like fives on the supercharged one, at least. They put these 5-spoke 22s or something insane like that on it, and even though
nowadays that's just called a wheel,
and it was just a less practical. Discover or LR3. Yeah.
Well, and that's when I was first shopping for some off-roader, I was hoping to find something that I could sleep in the back of.
Yeah.
And I also wanted something really fast.
Yeah.
So my options were pretty slim.
Yeah.
It was like Range Rover Sport Supercharged, which is super fast and insane. A Raptor, which is like way too expensive for my budget, at least right now, and probably for the the foreseeable future. And there was the X5M, which I like, but it's not really an off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
So you can't, it has the ground clearance, but it doesn't necessarily have the four-wheel drive prowess that a Land Rover.
And this generation is, or that generation you were looking at, not the current generation, but the prior is not
they are
good.
indistinguishable to me. I remember when a rival executive was like, "Oh, the X5, yes, it gets stuck in wet leaves."
Right.
Like a rival, company that was coming out with an SUV. I think it was when the Cayenne launched or something.
So ultimately, I actually last year I went to the Land Rover dealership in Portland and test drove a Range Rover Sport, not the current one, but the boxier one that I think has a really great design until they started putting all the side skirts on it. And I test drove an LR4 because they didn't have any LR3s. But more importantly, I slept in them at the dealership. And the Range Rover Sport, despite sharing the same wheelbase, four-wheel drive system, basically being the same length and height and everything as an LR3 or LR4, has about 6 inches fewer, shorter cargo length with the seats down. So as a 6'3" person, I did not fit in that.
Yeah.
And then when I test slept the LR4, I did fit, even with the tailgate closed and everything. I fit totally fine. So I knew then, I was like, okay, I'll sacrifice the 500 horsepower V8, which I probably shouldn't have anyway, because it'd probably just be a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah.
And I focused more on the more practical LR3, LR4. But LR4s cost 3 times more than LR3s.
Yeah,
that's what's crazy. They look the
same.
The LR3 looks better in my opinion.
Yeah, the LR or which one did you say?
Well, the LR4 is like the luxury, luxed up version of the LR3. The LR3 was Land Rover's first foray into luxury in their own brand. It had always been the Range Rover that got all the luxury.
Yeah, it was like a translation of the Range Rover design language for for the masses, so to speak. And I really liked it when it came out. I do like the LR4's interior, because they go through like dramatic changes in the same generation, but the updates, like the updated Range Rover of that era, like the first one was not high quality, or it did not wear well. And then the second generation, like with the digital dashboard, which was cheesy, but the interior, they replaced all the materials and it looked really nice. And like a 2010 still looks pretty modern by today's standards. And then same for the LR4, I think. They did that kind of like bisecting, like waterfall, like where it kind of bisected the transmission tunnel.
This is great audio content.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. I'm making hand gestures if you might again kind of gather from the whooshing as it passes the microphone. But anyway, you can of course look it up.
I mean, in the LR4 they switched from having the traditional Prindle gear shift automatic
to the knob.
Is that what it's called? The
J-gate. No, that's only in Jaguars.
It's got Jaguar engine.
That's true.
And probably transmission.
Yeah.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
So they went from that having, the handle that everyone's so used to having a
little,
wheel.
Yeah, the Evoke
It's
wheel.
still Prindle.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's
Yeah.
just a
I've
it's
never
almost like
heard
an
it spelled.
iDrive.
I've never heard PRNDL
Really?
as a word.
That's weird.
It's not
I don't think I've ever said it out loud, but it just
Yeah,
seemed
I've
right.
seen it in my head a lot.
Yeah.
This is a Prindle.
But yeah, so it's a wheel and it rises out of the console when you
that's really
when
Jaguar
you
then.
turn on the car. So
Yeah, well, that was also in like.
and that's
The XF?
it is in the Jaguar. So
yeah,
they
it's the ZF like 8-speed.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think it's also in like
Which is
every
a-
Chrysler.
it's in
Yeah.
every BMW. It's
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
it's in every car that
Yeah.
like wants to have a good transmission.
Yeah.
They all have the ZF 8-speed. So
Zed. But yes, okay, so they took that, and honestly, like in automatics, I know this is kind of like a very timely discussion because there was a Jalopnik post today about like transmissions and like what are they for? But also at the same time, we've had this discussion before that like automatic transmissions now, like it's all like by wire, so what is the point of taking up space on the center console unless you have like some sort of manufacturing efficiency because you also have a manual model, but like otherwise do the Mercedes thing, like put it on the stock or put it as a knob, although I'm kind of iffy on the knob thing,
especially in a notoriously
yeah
unreliable brand.
electrics with a British car, you say.
Well, was it Aston Martin that had the
Push button.
drive? Yeah,
Yeah.
the buttons to
Push
select
buttons.
the gears.
Lincoln had that too. It was a little
Yeah,
weird.
but
It was a little
Lincoln's
iffy.
is like for the spectacle that is like a push button transmission, like they style them like the radio buttons.
They were exactly like radio buttons.
Yeah,
yes.
like what is the point of that? If you're gonna do something different,
I'm
you might as well
listening
call
to
it out a little bit.
NPR Prindle edition.
Yeah, yeah. Although the Mercedes one just looks like a wiper sock, which I'm almost certain that I have done that. Like,
I'm just kidding. No Lincoln buyer listens to NPR.
no.
I'd like to interject and just talk for a moment about the trips that Daniel and I have driven on because we have driven his M3 from Houston, Texas to Portland, Oregon, through like the Eastern Sierras and amazing, not countryside, but amazing landscapes and. Had a really good time, and then in 2 years ago now we went from Oregon down the coast to Monterey Car Week when it was BMW celebration, and then we just did Pikes Peak. We didn't drive to it, but we did Pikes Peak. We drove, and so that was kind of combining our car. I mean, it was combining the car events with sort of parks and outdoors.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the ultimate
Car
combination.
adventures. I mean,
And
like
it was-
it's adventures in cars.
yeah, but I mean, it was like on these previous trips, we would go through national parks and,
Yeah.
and see things and
And-
get up, and then it's like, oh, this is like a park and a mountain, and we're at 14,000 feet, and it's a car
jealous
race.
that you both have the patience for like road trippage, which I do not. Like I nearly die driving to Austin, which is 150 miles away. Like I just I pull over like 10 times. I take a nap. It takes 4 days to get there. So this is my hesitance in buying a car and driving it back. So
Just have us do it. We're pros.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that Kevin wrote articles for each of these trips
That's
that
true.
we did.
Yeah,
so
it's
true.
road
There's-
and or track.
Yeah.
You can look
road
them up.
ampersand track.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's
yes.
I think it's a small online outlet that.
it's like the green sheet. It's the
brings
penny
buyers.
saver. Yeah.
Right.
It
Right.
brings
Yeah.
buyers for this.
Yeah.
And then
car.
in Petro Delicious, is that the name of the
Oh, that's right.
other
they did
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the E46 M3 Cabrio might be the perfect road trip companion.
My goodness.
Was that in
Headline.
there? Was that in the Petrolicious? Was that
Yeah.
the Monterey trip?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You all should scroll back in both of their Instantgrams, Captain Machine and D. Sloven, because there are some fantastic photos from some of these road trips, and the car looks great.
We have hashtags for the road trips,
Oh,
but
that's
if I
right.
tried to say them out loud, no one would ever find what they are. So
Yeah, we'd have to censor them. They're a little explicit.
They are very.
But yeah, no, I mean, like honestly, like oh man, you talk about the romance in these road trips, etc., and
It's a We prefer to say bromance.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Yeah, the sexual nature of such things. But it looked so, like, even looking at an open convertible top in a snowbank looked so cool. Like, it didn't make any sense, like, why anyone would ever do that, but, like, it was perfect. Like, it looked good and cool, and, like, makes you want to do that if you could just, like, transport yourself there and not have to drive 19 hours. So
it's for me, from the day I bought that M3,
yeah,
it was my, let's see, 1, 2, 3. It was my 5th BMW. I had 3 E30s prior, and the E39 530 Sport that I mentioned earlier. And I always loved road trips. I always had to do them. Being from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and going to school in Portland, I was driving back and forth for summers and that kind of thing. But there was something about the M3 that just made me want to always drive any chance I could get. And it was to the point where I stopped watching sports on the weekend because I would have rather been driving. Yeah. And I always wanted to push myself to go farther and see more and more places. And as a photographer, also just photographing, not just photographing nature, but photographing my beloved car in front of
your
nature.
companion.
My companion, yeah. So it's funny how just having the right, like, if people are wondering, like, how do you, even you, Chris, you're like, how can you have the patience to go that far? It's like not even a question for me. It's like, just say when, and we'll do this. Yeah. And
you and like say Bradley Brownell, like, who will travel for just 1,000 miles for a weekend, like that sense of adventure, like long distance adventure. I don't know, maybe it's because, like, I don't like being alone with my own thoughts, and that's why, like, I don't want to, like, just, I enjoy driving. I love driving. I will go, like, in an evening when I'm just bored, or I'll just get an itch to go and just drive. And even if it's just a city drive, or I just drive as far as, like, my patience will take me, like, I do yearn for that. The long distance, just kind of like cruising, is not, like, for me, it's like when it's quiet, or you're listening to something, it doesn't matter, like, it's a straight road and you're just going. I get a little bit uneasy or just impatient, and so that's me. Although, I mean, obviously with good people it's different, but when you're by yourself, well, when I'm by myself, and there are certainly some therapy issues here, but I've not yet been able to do that enjoyably personally.
No, hanging out with Daniel, like, changed. I mean, it changed. Like, when I used to have a Boxster S, and I knew it wasn't the car I wanted to keep forever, so I was always kind of worried about keeping the miles off of it, which sucks. It basically, like, ruins your enjoyment of the car.
Yeah. And it was your only car at the time.
Yeah, it was my only car, and so I just would always kind of hesitate, and, like, it was expensive to fix, and my heart wasn't really into it to, like, repeatedly fix things. It was fine, but I didn't love, like, racking up miles on it. And seeing, like, Daniel, you know, and experiencing, like, driving huge distances and just, like, putting yourself in places that you otherwise would never be, and never be able to drive. And it's like, oh, I could go to the middle, I could go to Death Valley and rent a Fusion, but it would suck. Like, it's way more special in your own car, and in a car that means something, and it has performance to exploit.
I would love to reach 1 million miles in my M3. I don't, at the rate I'm going with buying other things, I don't know if I'll make it there, but I would.
And at the rate you're going with walking around your city, come on. Guzzle some gas,
that was your
please.
mistake, being
Lots
in a
of people
walkable city.
here.
Yeah.
In terms of having one car to do it all, I can safely say that I would have been content with just the E46 M3 forever.
You also live in a place where you don't necessarily need air conditioning. Not that your car doesn't have air conditioning, but some of us.
You don't need air conditioning as frequently in Portland as you do in Houston.
Which freaks me out when I visit and houses don't have AC there.
Right. Entire houses do not have AC in Portland. Most of them do not, in fact. But I had the car for 5.5 years and happily drove it every day for every purpose, for commuting, for road trips, for sporty driving. I think that sums up the ethos of BMW, or at least what I think the ethos should be for BMW.
It's an everyday.
I thought the ethos was carbon core. Well, that's why it was branded on the 7 Series I looked at. So
we don't recognize
metallically.
BMWs after, I don't know, what was the last one?
2000.
BMW stopped existing.
2009. 12. What was the last E90? That one.
Yeah, 2013 then.
Last hydraulic steering power, or that. So
Okay, so before the E90, so 2004.
well,
So yeah, there's this practicality to it, and then also just looking at the numbers, I remember when whether it's the new E90 335 or like the 135 or the 135 IS or the M2 even.
yeah,
You look at the numbers on paper and they have basically the same amount of horsepower as an E46 M3
yeah,
with turbos
yeah, and that's
and electric steering.
man. That's a discussion for another day too. Just like where cars are going. I mean, like it's an old man discussion, but where cars are going nowadays, where it's like
I'm the oldest man.
yes, where you just you don't need all of this horsepower, and honestly, there was kind of like. I mean, this is a very bad statement, but there was a peak, where the physicality of what a car could achieve with the horsepower and then enjoyment on the road. I mean, on the track is another thing, but we've kind of surpassed this a lot in these cars that, you go past 400 horsepower. It's like, when are you going to really use this? Are you really enjoying this? Yeah, it's a party, a party trick, etc. But anyways,
Hang on, Ralph Nader. Could we maybe
All right.
talk about the hot cars thing? Because I think that's a
Okay.
broader
Yeah.
discussion. But this on the last show, I mentioned the hot cars trademark binder system, and I was kind of speaking off the cuff because Chris had provided one of these examples, and I was just sort of talking about how it arrived in the mail. And I don't remember signing up for it. And they kept sending me inserts, and then they sent me a collection notice. And I didn't take it seriously because my mom was like, "Oh, we don't have to take this seriously."
Yeah.
So I think I relayed that, and Daniel said that happened to me too. And I think it happened to everyone. And my two theories are: if you had a car magazine subscription, they sent this to you. Or my other theory, which I like better, is when you're 18-year-old boy. And Gillette
18?
You were 18 when this happened?
No. I was 16.
11.
No, I was 16. But I'm saying when you're 18 and Gillette sends you a Mach 3 razor, that happened to everyone I knew.
Really?
Well, you haven't turned 18 yet, Chris.
Yeah,
you will
I
get
know.
facial hair one day.
I've
But
nearly grown some facial hair.
everyone I knew, Gillette sent them a Mach 3 razor when they turned 18.
Yeah.
If you're a man, a
And
boy,
Old
or whatever.
Spice, Old Spice also sends you
I didn't get
stick
any of that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in deodorant.
Yeah.
But so I wonder if the hot cars, if you're a boy that turns 14, if they just send you, oh, this guy needs a hot car album, and he'll sign up for the rest. But I think their model was like the Columbia House Records, where it's like you get 12 records for
Here's the
99
thing:
cents.
I never received any of these hot car sheets.
And how did you have that one last episode? We didn't imagine that.
No, I don't know how I have that. But here's the other thing: is that I should have been on about 1 million mailing lists because I was the stupid idiot who in my car and drivers I would look at the ads and there's a number there and this numbers before websites. I would call up with my current voice, which is high pitched and sounds like a 13-year-old, would ask for brochures and they would send them to me, and that's how I had my car brochure collection as a kid. And I remember being denied several times because I sounded like a kid asking hey, can you send me this brochure for Mazda Millennia? And literally, I remember them
Mickey Mouse is in the studio.
Yeah, I remember the Mazda Millennia, Mazda, whoever it was that answered was how old are you? Okay, is this your parents or something? And I said yes. And they never sent it to me, and I was really upset because I really wanted that first gen well, the only gen, but the pre-LCI Mazda Millennia brochure with the Miller cycle, the 2.5 liter Miller cycle.
It was 2.3.
Fine. Yeah, I never received it.
In my family we had the LCI Millennia.
Yeah, you got the
With the 2.5
the
Miller cycle.
stupid clear headlights. I don't like that.
They all had clear headlights.
No, the first one had like the glass headlights, not the plastic ones. The LCI had the plastic ones.
But they were all clear.
I mean, all headlights are clear, I guess, if you want to be an idiot.
Hence my confusion.
All right, fine. Anyways, so
Okay, I think we
diverge.
Did you have anything to add about hot cars?
Well, just the fact that someone else shared my experience of having the hot cars binder. Like it's hard to paint this picture in audio, but you're sent this ultra high quality 3-ring binder in the mail
Based on the
suddenly
design, I would question the ultra high quality. Carry on.
with a smattering of cars across different car genres. So there's some classic cars, there's like
concept cars,
the concepts, the
street
modern
rods,
ones, the supercars, etc. And the idea was, just because I know no one is going to know actually what we're talking about.
No, I think everyone in this age group knows what we're talking about, and we're going to post a link in the notes.
We'll see.
Because the full binder set was like 12 binders.
Yeah.
It was like 400 or 500 inserts.
Yeah, but I think I received more inserts in the mail over time without asking.
I got 2 or 3 rounds, and then the collection notice came.
Right. And I remember showing it to my mom, and I was like, I never asked for this. I was 12, I think, at that time in 99. And as my E38 was as my E38 was rolling off the production line. And I had just seen Tomorrow Never Dies as well. And was cemented my E38 fantasy at that time.
Oh my God! You have to buy the Nokia phone that he
drives
controlled the car with.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Did you know it was, even despite being badged as a 750 IL in the movie, it was actually a 735.
What? It was a Euro thing?
It was a Euro.
What?
Yeah, 735.
Mind blown.
Or maybe even a 730 that they put the M parallels on to make it look like a 750 Sport.
I can't believe.
I bet the studio sold that car and it now has aftermarket black kidneys.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So when we were at I'm just gonna say BMW North Houston, we were there last week buying your car, and I told you it used to be called Charlie Thomas Intercontinental BMW, and I didn't continue telling, but that was where my father took his 5 Series for service, and so we got an invitation to The World Is Not Enough, like a preview screening.
Oh wow!
And featuring the Z8,
the Z8,
the Z8 for our British
he really
listeners.
upgraded, didn't he? He started with the Z3 and went all the way up to the still like $120,000
and
Z8.
Charlie Thomas
He didn't even drive the Z3; it was driven by
that's true.
Natalia.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so God. Charlie Thomas, this guy who means nothing to you and you are just hearing about in the last 30 seconds, he was sitting in the row behind me.
Oh, my God.
It was a pretty big deal.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that North Houston existed until 2017. So it's very far. And I had to drive there twice recently. Anyways.
One of those times was with me.
Yeah. Anyways, so periodical time. Kevin, won't you pull out that Jiggles magazine that you have here? Oh, I see.
It's jiggling. Okay. So I kind of screwed up.
Yes.
I bought something on the eBay from the UK.
How are we so synchronized? I'm going to tell you why in a second, but go on.
Well, so the thing that I bought originally, I bought 2 things. They arrived today. One of them, I was like, this is going to be amazing. I was so excited. And I thought I had done my due diligence because it was a good price. Normally, this type of thing went for like $15 or $20 or $45, and I was like, and I found one for cheaper, and I was like, I'm gonna jump on it, and it's 15 pages, so I'm like, it's the brochure. It's not just. There's a lot of things on eBay brochure wise where it's like it's just a folded card, basically, like a
Yeah.
4-pager, where it's like, oh, this is a little like pre-teaser.
Yeah.
So I bought this thing, 15 or 16 pages.
Yeah.
Not exactly what I wanted. It is literally a price list, but it is a price list for the E46 Compact,
Oh my god.
which
Wait, you pull that out of the
Yeah.
this RX-7 brochure
Yeah.
that you have here
Yeah.
as
Well,
a guide.
I'm still going to talk about the RX-7 for sure,
Yeah.
but this is literally a price list.
Oh
That's
wow,
all it
look at
is.
that.
The forbidden fruit.
$1.
That we never
Wait,
received.
oh yeah, we'd never say that because
stateside.
it looked terrible.
Terribly great.
No, it looks so bad. Have you
Yeah.
seen the headlights on that?
Yes, I have. You cannot see them. There's literally not a
yeah,
picture of
they've
the headlights.
even the manufacturer has
They wouldn't
not
be able
shown.
to sell any if they showed the headlights.
This is from. Doesn't say a year.
Yeah. Boy, that's imported. Someone like spent money to bring that overseas.
This is late. This was from the UK. It came from the UK. I bought the wrong thing from the UK.
Goodness.
But I also have a 1991 RX-7 brochure. This is the.
That's a good brochure. And that's very fitting of you because you love RX-7.
I love RX-7s. I'm not as much of a, I won't say expert. I'm not as much of a connoisseur of the second gen RX-7. I love the second gen, but this is the LCI second gen, which was truly gorgeous because the earlier ones had a lot of like black trim and they
Yeah.
could look cool, but the LCI it had the like, I won't say angrier front end, but
No, that's good. Look at that front end.
like
That's
the
really
front,
good.
The front has this like
It's so wedgy.
the gaping maw, and then
Yeah.
a lip spoiler, and all the little accents are body colored.
That's a good wedge.
Also,
like,
you can see the illustration of the Turbo 2 engine. This was
Yeah.
the Turbo 2. It was so you called it a Turbo 2, despite the fact that there was no Turbo 1 because the
No.
Turbo 1 was only Japan market
Yeah.
on the earlier, the first generation RX-7.
I have a memory of this car, and it was that my 7th grade like English teacher had a white convertible RX-7 of this generation, and what I associate with this is that it looks very, and then it was kind of like that, yeah.
These look so good in white.
So my memory association with this car and her was remember seeing her in very cartoon-like form, saying that she needed to take a bathroom break, and so she left the classroom, and then we saw her walk outside of the school, like through the window, to the convenience store and buy a 6-pack of beer, drink
Whoa.
one at her car, and then come back in.
Look at this.
She had to take a break.
Look at this photo of the car. Like,
We were bad
I
children.
love this picture.
What focal length do you think they used for that photo?
I would say like
One.
200 or 400.
Oh yeah, at least 400.
Oh wow, yeah, and they shot that like that is like closed aperture.
That's what we would call a tumbler road.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
really is.
approaching.
Oh,
and
right.
So feel the texture of this. This is like what I would have printed a resume on when I
Oh
was
my
16
goodness.
years old.
This is linen.
Yeah,
God damn it.
yeah.
Linen's like the bane of like any graphic designer's existence currently.
Why
So
it
find
makes this
it's
photo quality look so good.
Just
Yeah.
for all of our, what is it now, up to several 100,000 listeners.
yeah.
Just so you know what we're looking at,
We'll post a picture.
the
and you
outer
can feel your
cover-
phone. It's a touch screen.
That's true, especially if you have an iPhone with 3D touch. But the outer cover of this 1991 RX-7
Oh, yeah,
brochure is, I don't even think you mentioned it's an RX-7, but
I did. It
Oh,
was
okay, all right.
led up to.
it feels, I don't even know how to describe this.
It's
To
like,
me,
have you ever seen the Constitution? It's made of that paper. They printed
but
this on
probably
the Constitution.
thicker and higher quality, and
This is.
yeah,
Yeah.
and with less traumatic
This has
effects
a-
for our country
this has a
over generations. But that's
This might have a map on the back. Hey, is there one for you? Oh God. Okay. Well, I'll keep talking about
why
this.
don't we talk about the 3 Series Compact?
Please
here.
do.
So on your last episode, episode 4,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned the 318 Ti Compact of the E36 generation.
That was 2 episodes ago, but yeah.
Oh, 2 episodes. Sorry, yeah. That would have been the mid to late 90s.
Was that still called an
3
E36?
Series. It was called the E36, yeah.
Okay.
And that was available in the US, in North America, I should say.
Yes.
But it didn't really sell very well. So for the E46 Compact, like this was BMW's idea of how can we make a smaller car before introducing a 1 Series or something like
and
that?
I remember the weird thing was like the E46 was introduced in 1998 as a 98 model, I think, or 99 model,
Something like that.
And the compact wasn't till like 2002. Like it was years later. Like it was much later. And then when it came out, it was radically different. Had different fascia, different grille, different bumpers. Obviously, the rear was different.
Yeah, and they didn't even try to sell it in North America
No.
at all because they just knew like people didn't want that. And this was actually at the same time that Mercedes had the C230 compressor coupe, which I think stands as one of the ugliest Mercedes
it wasn't
ever
good.
made.
Why? Okay, first of all, like I don't understand why they had to try to make them different because it was basically like they took the front clip but like altered both of them. But the current generation, actually, if you look at, and I don't know if this is actually factually accurate, but the current hatchback version of the C-Class, or maybe it was the previous gen, looks just like it has the front clip of the sedan and coupe. Why didn't they just do that? Because did you say I stepped away to the restroom, but did you say that you disliked or liked the...
Who was that masculine man that just stepped in right now?
E36, the TI.
I like the E36 compact.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as pretty as a standard E36 coupe or sedan.
Yeah, and it has like almost like an E30 interior, which is interesting.
And suspension.
Yeah, the rear semi-rear trailing arm suspension of the E30. But the funny thing to me is you had Mercedes and BMW trying to have these down market models that were two-door.
Yeah.
And because two-door was cool, that was like what meant sporty.
Yeah.
But also the people who would be buying into this price point are likely looking for more practicality.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, you know, these didn't sell very well. The C230 compressor coupe didn't sell very well because the four-door, first of all, that C230 compressor, I think, was a really attractive sedan.
Yeah.
In sedan form.
It was the 202, I think, and
four-cylinder supercharged, 190 horsepower, 6-speed.
Kevin, I think, disagrees with this because that would be the generation. That'd be the generation of the E-Class that you hate.
No, we're talking C-Class.
I know, but it was the same generation of that. So of that era, rather.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah,
E-Class.
so it was just kind of like the new millennium kind of like puffy, but I kind of liked it.
03,
yeah,
I think.
Like the C46 at the time. I think was it the C46?
C43.
43? Okay. C43 at the time. I thought it was kind of a cool car. Like, and it's still kind of, oh, no, it was a C55.
Are you talking, well, in that body style would have been the C55.
C55.
No, C32.
Was it?
Because it had the supercharged V6.
Years.
Oh, right.
I sold something on Craigslist to someone. He showed up at my house in a C230 compressor.
Okay. I
hatchback.
loved the square-bodied C32, C32 and C36 and C30. Oh, god damn it. Okay.
Well, you said C46.
C36
Definitely
and
not.
C43.
Definitely
No. Sorry, it's a
C46 M3.
Okay. I'm correcting here. It is so that square body model was a C36 and a C43. So you could get.
And the C32 is what you're thinking of in that body style.
Yeah.
That we originally were referencing.
So back onto the
now that we've lost everyone.
I know. Onto the periodicals. Back to the periodicals, I should say. Do you want to go that route, or you want to see what I last minute fished out here for this whole purpose? Okay, all right, buddy.
What's funny? Okay, so just sorry before we jump straight back into the periodicals. The C32, we're talking 03, 04, 05-ish. This was the Mercedes answer to the E46 M3, basically. But they had it in four-door form.
Yeah.
So it was a supercharged V6.
Oh, man.
I think it was about a 350 horsepower. So it had a little bit more power than the E46 M3.
Because there was no... Well, I guess the CLK was technically a C-Class coupe, but...
It was an E-Class.
No, it was a C class.
Oh, I can't remember.
It was a C class.
Well, it started with C,
Chassis.
but
Oh, I guess it was a C chassis, but it had the E styling for all that.
But I know what you mean, though. Yeah, because they did the sedan, and if only BMW had done
a sedan
a
or
sedan.
touring.
There was a
But-
CLK
but think-
55, right?
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
a C class, technically.
But when you fast forward to today, this is my point.
Yeah.
You fast forward to today, literally no one ever talks about the stupid automatic C32 AMG
Yeah, no.
that Mercedes put out, or the SLK 32 AMG that was also concurrent with those,
Yeah.
because they were just like, yeah, the whatever AMG car at the time.
Those were experimental because, I mean, I'm saying this is off the cuff or unsubstantiated, but
All of this has been scripted
experimental.
up until this
Yeah,
point.
no. Well, but I mean, like, because, you know, you had at the time, the S55, and that was like, you know, big bruiser sedan.
And
but,
the E55.
An E55, and so this was kind of like experiment in shoving a huge or big engine. Although I guess the C32
It's a V6.
was a V6,
Supercharged
yeah,
V6.
yeah, exactly. And the C43
so
was
shoving the same engine it already had.
yeah, but the C43 was not. That it was a V8.
What did you bring, Chris?
So Kevin, in the Japanese realm, as you brought the RX-7 brochure, I've brought along what you've already seen, perhaps, but this is my launch year Lexus ES300 brochure.
Ooh.
Yeah,
It's like it's worn and dog-eared, like you
Yeah.
like took this to bed
I
in
have
1992
with
like
flashlights and everything.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I actually think this car is really cool, even though it's a front-wheel drive rebadged Toyota Wyndham. And it had bits from the Camry here at the time, but this is the Quad Light first gen.
Oh no, I think they look
ES300.
great. I think they're really cool.
This
I think
is a
they're
cool car, and it came with a stick. It came with a 5-speed configuration, just so that they can meet their marketing sell, meaning that they sold the car at like $26,000, something like that at the time, and the only way they could reach that number was by selling an absolute base model with a stick and cloth seats, which had to be factory ordered. So we're looking at a brochure for the Lexus ES300 1992, first year, model year for it. They had the ES250, but that was a literally rebadged Toyota Camry when Lexus launched. But look at this. This looks really good with these three
He's so
split
distracted.
three-spoke.
He's not even talking anywhere near the microphone.
No, I'm like turned around because I'm trying to show the class here.
This looks like your Celsior after the detailing. Like
Yeah,
it's like
look at
liquid glass.
Yeah.
Black.
Everything about it was kind of really nice. Like it was
Do you
really
think
well
those
thought
wheels will
out.
fit on a Prius? Was it 5-lug?
Yeah, it's
Like a real car?
5-lug, yeah, like a real car.
And I remember when those came out. I mean, I think they're just one of the. It's not quite as timeless as like an Acura Legend,
Right, yeah, I agree.
But
Really, we all thought he was going to say BMW.
Also, none of these exist today. Like, when was the last time you actually saw one on the road?
well, you wouldn't ever see one in anywhere near respectable condition.
Yeah, no one has kept these for sure. And
those headlights were really cool.
yeah, the quad projectors. Like, if you had 2, you felt lucky, and this had 4. And so that really did contribute to the.
I love this like turn signal spread. Like,
Oh yeah, look at this like turn signal. It's like a full page picture of a turn signal, but that looked good. Look at this, the straight lines.
man, they really loved
Strategic
small
curves.
caps back then.
Oh yeah,
Did you
we're
see
talking about the
on page
typography.
before? Good.
Yeah, the Lexus. Yeah, the type. Look how like leaded out this is
Yeah.
compared to the size of the font.
And this had
55.
this had a
55,
a
sorry.
3 liter
3
back
liter-
when numbers meant something.
Yeah.
3
Oh,
liter
that's a mean
V6
3-liter V6. So
with what 195 horsepower.
no,
Not
that's
even.
ambitious.
I would say 175.
That's ambitious. Let's
well,
find out.
let's find out.
Let's find out. I have literature here.
It is worth
find out.
noting while Chris is looking up the exact numbers of horsepower for the ES300 from 1992. My first car was not a BMW. It was a 1993 Nissan Maxima SE.
Oh, that was a V6.
That was a dual overhead cam V6.
Yeah,
The
they
V-
all no,
The
it was
first
not
V-
no, it was not a VQ.
Oh, okay.
They all came in V6s, which was the amazing thing at that time.
Yes, and it had 190 horsepower out of a 3-liter V6. And that generation went from like 89 to 93.
That was a really good
and
Oh,
gen.
the VQ
190
came after
horsepower.
Yeah, the VQ came after that.
Yeah, and both of those generations of Maxima, I think, were really
Wait,
great.
what year did you say?
Mine was a 93.
93, yeah. So that's the boxy gen where all engines were V6s, 3-liter V6s.
Yep.
And that was the last good gen.
Yeah, there was the GXE, I think, was
Yeah.
the base model, and
Yeah.
it had 160 horsepower.
Yeah.
And the SE had shadowline trim, if I may use the BMW terminology.
Oh.
And
Man, those were cool.
it
'Cause
was
you could get in a-
beautiful.
you
It was
could get
beautiful.
a
But it
stick.
was my first car. I honestly didn't deserve it as a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
and only had it for a year before I spun out into a ditch into a telephone pole.
Did you understeer into that
I didn't.
pole?
I didn't. The weird thing was I drove like such a shithead constantly
Yeah.
in that car, and when the time when I actually crashed it was me doing the speed limit. It was raining, and it was in the summer, so it was one of those things where it doesn't rain for a while, and then like the road is oily. I was going down the one curvy road in Tulsa,
Yeah.
and seriously, to this day, I will stand by the fact that I was not speeding for once.
Yeah.
And the back end just came loose, and like it spun out and then went backwards into this ditch. And it just so happened at the point at which I entered the ditch, there was also a telephone pole.
Oh my
So
god.
the rear of the car was dented in a perfect V shape.
Holy crap.
Like the trunk, I had to bungee cord close
Oh my
the trunk.
God.
And the front because I went into a ditch, the front of the car was also damaged. I think a belt or two broke off or something like that. And we ended up selling it for like $500. And
Oh my god.
it was sad. Like I said, I didn't deserve it at the time because
Yeah.
it was in excellent condition, and it was a one-owner car before I got it.
Wow.
So I,
It'll live forever as a 200 car.
Yeah. So we wrap up by way of having Daniel evaluate a periodical. Kevin.
Yes.
Oh wow, okay,
Ooh, what is it?
wow. Well, it says Land Rover on the outside, so I could only assume that it is
A
for
Freelander.
a 2005 LR3.
Oh, I was really hoping it was
not
gonna be.
that good. We're not that good.
We wanted it to be a Freelander.
Was
It
this
isn't,
just
though.
purchased on the internet for my perusal?
It was, but not. It's not like it arrived today.
Okay.
Daniel is very carefully opening it.
Well, this is an antique book that I'm opening. Yes, indeed, it is
Look at that.
a 2005 LR3 brochure
Yeah.
that looks almost identical to mine. So
Except not
that's
lifted, bro.
except
Yeah.
it's not lifted, bro, and the previous owner of mine also changed the grill to for
Black
some reason.
kidneys.
And
For
your
some
wheels
reason,
are
curiously, it has
your
black
wheels are
kidneys.
plasti dipped.
Yes, and my wheels are powder coated. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
pardon me.
Yes, slightly darker silver again for some reason. So what's the prompt as I
Nothing. Just
I
what do you
present
see?
this.
What do you see?
Cool.
Tell the
No pressure.
people
Yeah.
You saw us.
as they literally cannot see it currently.
Well, what's interesting to think about is the type of person that would be looking at this in, let's say, the end of 2004,
Oh yeah.
and so the very first word that appears when you open the book is unique, which these days an LR3 is not very unique, and thankfully, because I have
You're going to need a lot of spare parts.
I'm going to need a lot of spare parts, and I also have benefited from its ubiquitousness
Yeah.
in that it's depreciated
Yeah.
insanely.
Look how level that sits, as if like we're never going to kneel to one side or the other.
That's true. And of
They were
course,
very ambitious.
the pre-LCI LR3
Yeah.
had the dark gray plastic
look at that.
fender arches, which
No, that looks so good.
it makes it look a little bit like a toy, but it also makes it
Yeah.
look more purpose-built.
I do like that because the color key, whenever car manufacturers like start with plastic cladding, bare plastic cladding, and then go to color key, it looks so bad.
Right, and that's exactly what Land
And on
Rover
this-
did on the LR3.
Yeah.
And this is like made for driving
Yeah.
and getting scraped with, you
Oh,
know,
man.
like
Exactly.
the
Man,
plants
like
and bushes.
if you're gonna have a serious SUV, like especially this, or even like a Land Cruiser, where they like started to color key the fender flares and all the bits, like it looks a little bit silly. But when you put not matte, but like just bare plastic or bare metal or whatever, bare plastic, I guess, bits on it, does look good.
If you do find the displacement of your V8, please let us know.
It's a 4 liter. I'm almost certain it's a 4 liter.
We'll find out soon.
Yeah.
So far, there has not been a single. Oh, well, I spoke too soon. About halfway into the brochure is the first photo of
Oh yeah.
the Land Rover actually off-road.
Whoa! It's in a field.
The rest of them were in a studio.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Is that a tumbleweed? My God.
You can tell throughout this they're really trying to class up the LR3 as more of a luxury
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yours
Well,
have
it has
3 rows?
the tan leather.
Mine has it has black leather, which that was one of my requirements. I didn't
Yeah.
want tan.
Tan is bad.
It would just get dirty too
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
like in the mud and
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm glad I don't have tan and that I have tan now.
Yeah, I do have the third row seating, which I'm sure never ever
Yeah.
use.
Do they fold up like Land Cruiser style, like jump seats?
Does it have stow and go?
No, they fold up and face the correct forward direction.
Okay.
So they are pretty thin and narrow, but
Okay.
they could
Yeah.
accommodate a normal sized person.
Speaker grills.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harman Kardon premium audio.
Yeah.
I think the one that I got has the updated Harman Kardon.
Yeah. Is
I'm
it a
not sure.
Logic 7 thing? Does it say?
It does say it's Logic 7.
You know that on my E90, one of the like very expensive parts to replace was the Logic 7 amplifier, which is prone to failure. And it's like, even used on eBay, they're like $500, which is stupid.
When Chris tells you that he had experience with a thing that broke and that you have that thing, it's a prophecy because he told me
It's
he
a
spent
prophecy.
$750 on his headlights
Yeah.
on his Prius, which I have now done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I do not have the Logic 7 version of the audio, which is fine because I'll probably take the Land Rover to an audio
Yeah.
shop to have them upgrade
And
it.
it Logic 7 doesn't sound that good anyways.
This looks like Badlands in South Dakota, but it's probably somewhere in like Africa or something.
Yeah.
Another off-road shot.
It's very off-roady, this brochure.
Yeah, the LR3 has 300 horsepower
Oh. From
from a 32 valve V8
displacement?
with the capacity or displacement of 4.4.
Oh, I
You've
knew
got
it.
4.4s.
Okay, sorry. One of the many numbers that I threw out was
Oh.
4.4, which is a BMW number, but I don't know if it's
Is this
is
the
it-
same? Is this
it
a
a
BMW
Jag or a
V8?
BMW?
No, this
engine?
even despite sharing the same displacement as the M62 B44, which was in the Range Rover.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a good show. Good night, everybody.
This one, no, it does have the Jaguar engine, although
Okay.
it doesn't explicitly say
Because there
that
was
here.
when the radically new style Range Rover launched in like 2001 or 2002.
Yeah.
It had a BMW.
That's right.
Yeah,
the
it did.
M62
It did.
B44.
It was
which
heavily
is
BMW
the
based,
same
yeah.
one that's in the E38 740, the same
Yeah.
one that's in the E39 540, and yeah. So, anyway, 4.4 liters, 5 terrain response controls.
Do you have all the terrain response?
Options?
Yeah. Switches.
Yeah.
Thing. Okay.
That was standard. That was
Oh,
standard.
my goodness.
I look forward to driving in the sand.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
what can I say? Oh, they have a picture of it next to a Freelander and the Range Rover
Hey, look at that Ford Escape.
in some generic looking city. I'm not really sure where that
Actually, I don't know if the Freelander was it a Ford Escape based car.
I
believe it
sure
was.
looks like
Yeah.
one.
I believe it was.
I remember that. That was
Wait, that was their full lineup.
that was their full
That
lineup.
was
Look
all
at that.
Land Rover and Range Rover.
Yeah.
in
Can you imagine?
2005. Wow.
Man,
Yep.
that is good. Anyways, gentlemen, we're coming up on an hour and a half here, so
Wow. Bonus episode.
I know. We don't even it's a whole thing. Okay. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. This
Thanks
was
for having
a
me.
pleasure. Thank you for listening to New for 96. Oh, well, Daniel, we had prompted him to say Neu for 96 to be really annoying, but
Neue für 96.
there you have it.
Amazing.
Ach du lieber. Okay.
Auf Wiedersehen.